Hi, I'm Margaux Lovely. I'm a senior at Telluride High School, and I did my internship this summer with Jenny Thomas studying forensic psychology. So first of all, forensic psychology is the intersection between psychology, which is the study of the mind, and the justice system. It applies clinical skills such as assessment, evaluation, and treatment to the legal field. So we like to say that Jenny wears lots of hats, but she has her master's in forensic psychology, and her overarching title is a social worker. She does lots of work with the juvenile diversion program here in the Dolphin House in Montrose, which is a child advocacy center that services the region. And a child advocacy center is a place where children who have been witness to or victim of violence or abuse go to be interviewed to get the story on what happened, and going forward, the Dolphin House provides them with resources and aid in the process. Additionally, she provides expert testimony advocating for these kids in court and for the events that happened to them, yes. So my main job this summer was to complete a class in the 10-step investigative interviewing process, and this method is relatively new, but it's a method of interviewing children who, again, have been witness to or victims of violence or abuse, and it really takes into account kids' emotional well-being instead of traumatizing them by making them relive the experience. And this class was through a professor from the University of Southern California. It involved lots of lectures and required readings, so here are just some screenshots of my required readings. As you can see, it ranges from anywhere as simple from interviewing children to what color is my pet dinosaur. So it really went in depth into how children's brains work and how this trauma can affect them and how to accurately get the information out of them. So a quick overview of the 10-step process. To begin with, the interviewer establishes rapport with the child, which is obviously super important when you're talking about something as sensitive as this, and some instructions. And these instructions aren't sort of your basic instructions that you might expect. They include lots of examples. For example, one of these instructions would include the ignorant interviewer instruction, in which the interviewer basically say, hey, remember, I don't know what happened to you. I can't answer these questions for you. And other things like the don't know instruction, in which the interviewer would say something along the lines of, if you don't know something, I'd like you to not guess, and then they would go through sort of a practice process. If I asked you what my dog's name is, what would you say? Ideally, the child would say, I don't know. But if I asked you what your dog's name was, the child would know. So it's lots of practice and just making sure the child really understands how to answer the questions that are given to them. And one of the more interesting instructions, in my opinion, is that the interviewers normally ask the child to promise to tell the truth or promise to not tell any lies, which research has shown that it elicits more accurate information out of them. From there, they move on to the practice narrative stage, which is actually, I read a lot into this, but the practice narrative stage is super interesting because it uses the same structure of storytelling, so to say, that the allegation phase will. Except it has nothing to do with the real reason that anyone is in the room interviewing. So they would say something like, tell me everything you remember about your last soccer game, or tell me everything you remember about your last birthday party. And the key here is to keep the question super open-ended and say, hey, tell me more, what happened next? And this really establishes the grounds for how the child should answer the preceding questions after that. And this serves as the segue into the allegation phase, in which, again, a similar structure is used as a practice narratives, except they focus on the real reason that they're in the room, which is the abuse or violence. So some other things I did outside of this class, I got pretty familiar with the database Callio, which stands for the Child Abuse Library Online. That's Jenny and I zooming, looking at the database, but it essentially is so much information on the current, and old research and case studies of anything you can think of having to do with child abuse. And Jenny tends to check this before she's going on stand, just to make sure that all of her information is accurate and that she is not going to be discredited on stand. One of the most interesting articles I actually found on here highlighted the differences between American children and Aboriginal children in Australia and the way that their social upbringing affected how they disclose information about trauma. So that was super interesting. Some other things I did, I sat in on meetings with the multidisciplinary team. I signed a non-disclosure agreement to do so, but it is a group of social workers, investigators, workers from the DA's office, and the Dolphin House, among other people, that meet periodically to discuss any ongoing cases and see how they can collaborate with each other. in order to keep those cases moving forward. Additionally, myself and a few of the other PINterns participated in a peer advocacy training through the San Miguel Resource Center, which taught us how to be advocates for our peers when they're going through tough times or really just need any support. We learned how to do that properly. So all in all, some of the things that I learned was that learning never ever stops and new research is constantly coming out. Forensic psychology is an emerging field. There's so much more to learn about it, and new research and new case studies are constantly coming out, so it's really important to stay on top of that, and it's interesting to do so as well. And collaboration is key. Like I said before, the multidisciplinary team, it is so incredible to see how everyone is able to work with each other, bounce ideas off one another, and provide resources for each other in order to keep things moving forward. And I think that's really important to remember moving forward with my life. Some advice I would have for future PINterns, the two things that I would say are, first of all, say yes to everything. Any opportunity you get, big, little, anything, just say yes. You don't know where it'll take you. It'll probably be incredible. And ask questions. Your mentors are there to answer your questions. They know that you'll have them, and they're super happy to answer them, and you'll learn so much more this way. Thank you.